The gentle warmth of the morning sun filtered through the branches of a gnarled oak tree in a quiet corner of the countryside. Nestled in its shade was an old barn, weathered and worn but sturdy in its purpose. The barn, a sanctuary for many creatures, had seen countless births, shelterings, and miraculous events over the years. None, however, compared to the extraordinary tale that began on a crisp spring morning. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Cleo, a graceful tabby cat with soft green eyes and a coat striped in hues of amber and chestnut, had recently become a mother. Her 3 kittens were her pride and joy, their tiny forms huddled together in the warmth of her embrace. Cleo was known around the farm for her nurturing spirit. Even the hens seemed to calm under her watchful gaze. So it came as no surprise that when Cleo heard faint, desperate cries near the barn's threshold, she rose immediately to investigate. There, in the dampness of the early morning dew, Cleo found 3 tiny puppies, their fragile bodies trembling and their eyes barely open. They had been abandoned, left to face the world with no one to guide or protect them. Cleo sniffed them cautiously, her maternal instincts kicking in. They were too young to fend for themselves, and their cries pierced her heart. Without hesitation, she began nudging them toward the barn one by one, her motherly instincts stronger than the barriers of species. The journey into the barn was a short one, but it marked the beginning of an unbreakable bond. Cleo introduced the puppies to her little den, where her kittens observed the newcomers with curiosity. The kittens, initially hesitant, soon began to accept the puppies as their own. Cleo's milk became their sustenance, and her warm purring became the lullaby that lulled them to sleep. The sight of a cat nursing and caring for orphan dogs was nothing short of miraculous, and word spread quickly among the farm's human caretakers. Weeks passed, and the puppies grew stronger under Cleo's watchful eye. They stumbled around the barn, their awkward steps slowly becoming confident strides. Cleo disciplined them with gentle swipes of her paw, taught them how to groom themselves, and even shared hunting lessons, which proved comical given their clumsy attempts to mimic her stealth. Despite their differences, the puppies became as much her children as her kittens were. The farmhands marveled at this harmonious family. Neighbors and visitors would often stop by, drawn by the heartwarming sight of Cleo leading her mixed brood around the farmyard. It was as though she saw no distinction between her kittens and the puppies. Love, after all, had no boundaries for her. Years passed, and the puppies grew into robust dogs. Named Max, Leo, and Daisy, they each developed their own unique personalities. Max was bold and protective, always positioning himself as the leader. Leo, a gentle giant, had an easygoing demeanor that endeared him to everyone. Daisy, smaller than her brothers, was fiery and determined, often proving she was just as capable as they were. Despite their size and strength, the dogs never forgot their roots. Cleo remained the matriarch of the family, and even as the dogs towered over her, they showed her the utmost respect. They still sought her warmth on cold nights, resting their heads against her soft fur. Cleo, now older and slower, continued to nurture her family with quiet dignity. One fateful winter evening, the farm was struck by a fierce blizzard. The winds howled through the trees and snow piled against the barn's doors. Cleo, sensing the danger, gathered her kittens, now fully grown cats, and curled around them for warmth. But as the storm worsened, she began to worry about her canine children, who had ventured into the woods earlier in the day. Hours passed with no sign of their return, and Cleo's anxiety grew. Just as dawn began to break, the sound of barking pierced through the howling wind. Max, Leo, and Daisy emerged from the snow-covered landscape, their fur frosted with ice, but they were not alone. Behind them trailed a group of animals, rabbits, a few stray dogs, and even a small deer, seeking refuge from the storm. The dogs, remembering the lessons of compassion and care they had learned from Cleo, had guided the frightened animals back to the barn. Cleo's teachings had left an indelible mark on them. The barn became a haven that morning. Cleo watched as the dogs herded their charges inside, ensuring each one found a warm place to rest. She purred softly, pride swelling in her chest. Her unconventional family had grown beyond her wildest dreams. As the years rolled on, Cleo's health began to decline. Her once bright eyes grew dim, and her steps became slower. Yet her family remained by her side, showering her with the love and care she had so selflessly given them. Max, Leo, and Daisy would take turns lying beside her, their massive frames dwarfing her frail body but never crushing her spirit. Her kittens, now independent cats, brought her the choicest morsels of food, a silent acknowledgement of her sacrifices. Then came the day when Cleo, surrounded by her family, took her final breath. The loss was profound, felt deeply not only by her immediate family but by the entire farm. The barn seemed quieter, the sunlight dimmer, but even in her absence, Cleo's legacy endured. Months after Cleo's passing, something extraordinary happened. One evening, as the dogs and cats lounged near the barn, a faint sound caught their attention. It was a familiar cry, one they hadn't heard in years. Max, Leo, and Daisy immediately sprang to their feet and bounded toward the sound. Nestled in the underbrush near the barn were three tiny creatures, a pair of orphaned kittens and a fragile puppy. Max sniffed the trembling creatures, his heart aching at their helplessness. Without hesitation, he gently picked up the puppy in his jaws while Leo and Daisy carried the kittens. The trio brought them back to the barn and laid them in the softest hay. The other animals gathered around, forming a protective circle. Under Cleo's influence, the dogs had not only learned to love but to nurture as well. They licked the frightened creatures clean, warmed them with their massive bodies, and even shared their food. The cycle of love and care that Cleo had started was now being carried forward by her unlikely protégés. The farmhands watched in awe as the dogs raised the abandoned animals, guided by an invisible thread of Cleo's wisdom. Max, Leo, and Daisy became the protectors and teachers their mother had been, their bond transcending the differences that might have otherwise divided them. The kittens grew into sleek, agile cats, and the puppy, inspired by the dog's strength and courage, grew into a confident and loyal companion. Years later, visitors to the farm would hear the tale of Cleo, the mother cat who nurtured abandoned dogs, and the legacy of love she left behind. They would see the harmonious family she had built, dogs, cats, and other animals living together in unity. It was a story that reminded everyone who heard it that love and kindness know no bounds, and that even the smallest act of compassion can ripple out to create something extraordinary. Cleo's story lived on, not just in the memories of those who knew her, but in the actions of her family, who continued to nurture and protect others in her name. And so, in a quiet corner of the countryside, under the shade of an old oak tree, a legacy of love continued to grow, as enduring and unbreakable as the bonds Cleo had forged so many years before. The legacy Cleo left behind didn't stop at the barn. Over time, her story became a source of inspiration, spreading far beyond the boundaries of the little farm. Visitors who heard the tale would share it with friends and family, and soon Cleo's extraordinary act of love was known in nearby towns. Schools used her story as a lesson in kindness and compassion, teaching children about the power of nurturing relationships across differences. The barn, now known as Cleo's Haven, became a place of pilgrimage for those seeking solace and inspiration. People would bring their own animals to the farm, hoping to find the same harmony that Cleo had fostered among her family. Farmers came with stories of rival animals learning to coexist after hearing of Cleo's unlikely household. Even veterinarians and animal behaviorists were intrigued by the dynamics of Cleo's family and the profound bonds they had formed. Among the farm's human caretakers, Cleo's impact was deeply felt as well. The farmhands began to see their animals in a new light, recognizing the individuality and emotions of each creature. Relationships between humans and animals grew stronger as they adopted Cleo's lessons of compassion and patience. Stray animals that once might have been turned away were now welcomed with open arms, nurtured in the same spirit that Cleo had shown years before. One such stray was a dog named Bruno, a wiry mutt with a patchy coat and wary eyes. Found wandering near the farm one summer morning, he was cautious and slow to trust. Max, Leo, and Daisy, remembering their own beginnings, took it upon themselves to welcome him. Daisy, with her fiery determination, coaxed Bruno from his hiding spot under a bush, while Leo gently offered him food. Max stood watch, ensuring no harm came to the newcomer. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on a mother cat nurturing abandoned dogs? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.